Joy Villa on the track. So many people trying to stop me and stop me from speaking. So many people trying to keep me and keep me from thinking. But I'm awake and I'm tired of sleeping. No going back, no going back. Mental prison, slavery of the mind. Education, keeping us in line. Propaganda controls our youth. Stolen culture, broken truth. Nothing to do with my persuasion. It's more than just a race relation. Choose life, freedom's what you find. Break chains, free thoughts not a crime. Propaganda controls our youth. Soul culture, broken truth.
Righteousness, he is faithful and just to forgive. So it's part of my ministry. Music is part of my ministry. It ministers to me. It ministers to the Lord. And so to be able to do that, and there was about 400 people there, a packed audience. I was nervous because I was like, I started rehearsing the song last minute, like days before, but the Holy Spirit brought it on my heart. This is the song to do. A song I grew up with as a child. A song when I sang before, I didn't realize it was going to be my testimony. It brought me to my knees, caught me by surprise when God ran to me. Is God running to you right now? Do you feel that urging on your heart and your spirit? Because that is the calling of the Most High. He loves you. He wants to serve us. That's why he came into flesh form to become Jesus Christ, who is God, who always was and is to come. And you don't have to understand it. It doesn't have to make sense. You just have to accept it on faith. And that's how you do it. And that's how I did it. And I gave everything back to God. And when he gave me back opportunities like this, I was like, wow. And I promised the Lord, anytime there's a microphone in front of me, I will be saying the name of Jesus. And I did it at the Grammys this year in February. I did at the inauguration in January. I mean, I've gone through a radical transformation, a faith transformation, and only God can do that. Only God can do it. Joy Tribe, good morning. Welcome to this Wednesday. Baby, you gotta stand up straight. Why are you trying to be shorter than you already are?
We know.
Why are you trying to be so short? This is my husband. So we are doing a live show today. It's Wednesday. And guess what? It's our 50th anniversary. It's not for us. It's our 50th episode, I should say. I want to say anniversary. One day we're going to be able to say that, baby. 50th anniversary. So it's our 50th episode here at the Joy Vila Show. I am your hostess with the mostest, Joy Vila. We go live every weekday, 9 a.m. Eastern,
Baby, in order
6
for me
a.m.
to say 50th anniversary,
Why are you cutting me off?
98 years old.
You're going to be 98? Wow. You could be 98. You could be 98. Don't get depressive. So anyways, as I was saying, this is the Joy Vila Show. We go live every weekday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. And we talk about faith, freedom, finance, fitness, and family, the 5 pillars of joy, and pop and politics. But on Wednesdays, we're introducing a new episode. Are you going to stick to this, baby?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
doing my best.
All right. You're going to do it because your best is going to be it. Yes, my love. This is my amazing husband. Baby, stand up straight.
Baby, stop
Baby.
it.
All right, here, we can angle it down for you to have a little
There
more.
we go.
Hey, embarrassing me on this live broadcast.
I'm shorter than you. Just remember that.
Yeah, but you're not when we sit down. Look.
You know what? How about that?
See, you hunching. You hunch on your haunches. My bad. So this is my husband, Jeremy Lifsey. And today we have an episode called Poopsie and Doopsie. And every Wednesday, right, baby?
Yes.
We're launching our podcast. So every Wednesday, it's going to be on the Joy Vila Show, but it's comedy. It's, what are we talking about? Comedy, conspiracy theories. We're talking about humor, marriage, our friendship, right, baby?
We'll see if she wants to talk about conspiracy theories. I talk about that wild-ish.
My baby, full of conspiracies. He a conspiracy theorist. And that's okay. We talked about Flat Earth last time he was on. Got a lot of people riled up, which is sometimes good. So we're going to talk about, let's see if you guys can hear us okay, because we got one mic to share between us. And yeah, I love my husband. We've been friends for 17 years. We got married last year. It's only been 7 months. And we always said we wanted to do a podcast called Poopsie and Doopsie. Poopsie is my nickname. Doopsie is his nickname. And so we're going to talk about whatever we want. You guys can ask us questions. It's a very freestyle, comedic, fun couples podcast, right, baby?
Yes.
He's being so good right now. Let's read some comments from the audience. Happy 50th episode. Yes, it's our 50th episode. You know, we were actually together on my Joy Vila show. Remember, baby, when we first got back together last year in October? Remember you're like, I'm a great podcast guest, and you got on my show.
Oh yeah, when we were in Clearwater or whatever.
Yep, when we were in Clearwater. Exactly. Oh, your own podcast is officially happening. Awesome, JCL. Do it. Do all the things you need to do. Congratulations. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations. Wow, beautiful. We got our scriptures of the day. Sunrise Joy, thank you for that. Love it. Yes, freedom. Lovely ministry. Thank you. Sunrise Joy says, hi, Jeremy. Brian says, hi. If you're watching this on the replay, let me know you're on the replay crew. Leave me a comment. I read all the comments. We're going to read the comments together. So having a good time. Good morning, Joy, Jeremy, and Tribe. Good morning. Lovely chaos. You got the verse of the day. Mark 10:27. All things are possible with God. Amen. Yes. Congratulations. Thank you. Candace says, best things come in small packages. Also known as Mark Barker. Candace, AK.
That's right.
So what do we want to do to jump it off? We didn't really talk about a topic.
Big things come on small packages.
Who has the small package? You?
I am the small package.
So I come on you?
I said,
but who's the big thing?
Never mind, Poopsie.
It doesn't make sense. I'm all about the jokes, but big things come on small packages.
Like I'm packing heat.
And you're coming on yourself?
No, baby.
But come on, pack. You have to. It has to make sense.
I said it's big things come on small packages. So like big things
Yeah.
come on small packages.
But what's the coming on?
You're thinking of coming on. It's just like big things on small packages. How about that?
Oh, like big things
My
are
baby
on a
blonde.
small package. So you're a small
My baby
package.
going blonde.
I didn't get it. Baby, if I
She
don't get
going
it, means it's not
blonde.
funny. Big
It's
things
funny.
come on small packages. Oh, I get it. Like are attached to small packages.
Mhm.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
Right.
All right, good morning, sunshine. Hi, Fat Grammy. We got our lovely Fat Grammy in. She was on our show on the pastors panel. We love Fat Grammy here. So, what do we want to talk about? This is Poopsie and Doopsie. This is our episode where I bring my husband on and we do
What
comedy.
we should talk about is our how we met, and we should talk about a relationship one more time.
Yeah,
Since
we
this is the
should.
launch of Poopsie and Doopsie, we should talk about our origin story.
Our origin story, yes. So just so you guys who are just watching, there's over 100 people watching. Oops, we forgot to go live on Instagram. I always forget. Poor Instagram. They're the redheaded stepchild. And I love redheads. But yeah, this is our origin story of our podcast, which will be it's launching every Wednesday on the Joy Vila
origin
show.
Story of our relationship.
Yeah, that's true. Origin story of our relationship.
Which is, I guess, the origin story of the podcast. I don't know.
Whatever origin
Without
story
the
you want to do,
relationship.
baby. You're the boss.
That's right.
Okay, baby. So how did we meet?
We met in Los Angeles, California, on the lot of Universal Studios on a show called Heroes.
That's right.
We were background actors, and we were in the carnival scene for Heroes, and Joy was wearing like these tight, shiny pants, and I looked over, and she's over at the craft services, feeding her face. She loves to eat.
I love to eat.
I look over, and I'm like, my mind's like, go over and say something funny so you can get the attention from this girl. So I went over and I said something funny, and she turned around and said something funny back. And I was like, oh, she's a cool chick. Because I got to be honest, I don't normally think women are funny. Her and my sister and my friend Marty are pretty damn funny. My cousin Chrissy's kind of funny too. But in general, I don't find a lot of women funny. I'm sorry.
Well, I think this is a good topic because I think a lot of women, actually, I think there's a lot of women who are funny. But I want to say too, there's a lot of women who aren't funny. There's more men who are funny because men have gone through more pain.
That's it.
And but also men are shameless, and women also are not allowed to be funny. We're supposed to be pretty.
Yeah, I guess
we're supposed to be.
Agree with that.
Women go through a lot of pain too, but men go through more rejection pain, right? More of like in your face pain. So I think women go through more internal pain. I think so. But I want to just say is like, so most women aren't taught to be funny. They aren't applauded for being funny. They aren't encouraged to be funny. So when a woman, and also to be funny, you have to not care to a certain extent. And most women are not taught to not care. We care by nature. And sometimes we care about the wrong things. Like, what do people think? Guys, nobody's looking at them. Most guys aren't taught behave, look good, be polite, be handsome. Guys are allowed to be ugly, right? And ugly is funny.
The best way for men to attract women is to be funny. So
it's true.
like men are like, oh damn, I want to see her in a mini skirt and fishnets, and women are like, oh my god, he's funny. That's like our version.
It's
of sexy.
Charming. Yeah, I think a man with a good personality who's charming and funny.
But back to how unfunny women are. So, anyways,
but women can be very funny.
Some women are very funny.
Women to be
she
funny.
is freaking funny, and I'm not just saying that because I'm shorter than her and she'll hurt me.
Yeah.
She's actually a very funny woman.
And Lucille Ball was super funny.
Lucy
exactly.
Was funny.
I think there's a lot of funny women.
Well, there's a lot of funny.
There's just more guys who go up there and do comedy.
But no, like you said, the psychological thing of men experience more trauma, and trauma makes people funny, unfortunately.
Yeah, but women experience trauma too. You can't say men experience more trauma because you could say women experience more trauma.
Yeah. Okay, well, are we going to finish the damn story?
I know, no, but this is part of it, baby. We're having conversations.
All right, keep talking.
No, baby. You can't leave right now. No, this is not how it works. We're on a podcast. You can't just. I don't know. This might be the first and last episode of Poopsie Doopsie with the way things.
I had to grab my tea.
I thought you were going to go take.
I had to grab my tea if I'm gonna listen to her on funny ass.
Baby, Lucille Ball was super funny. There are a lot of people in general who think they're funny but aren't. Exactly. I think laughing inappropriately is my favorite pastime. Go Fat Grammy. Go Fat Grammy. This is going to be a very funny, silly episode, guys. Lurking, listening, working. Love it, Lupita. Yes, our 50th episode.
Okay, so
yeah,
you're gonna let me finish this.
But it's a good
story?
debate, baby. But we're gonna finish the story.
Right.
It's a good debate.
Baby, we get it. There's some funny chicks out there. By and large, I personally don't think most women are funny. I'll say 70% of women aren't funny to me.
Wow.
And about 20% of those, 15% of those try to be funny, and maybe I just don't get their humor, or my humor bone is rubbed raw, and it takes a lot to make me laugh. But yeah.
Okay, you're allowed to have your opinion.
We met on the Lotta Universal.
It's getting upset.
And I said something funny to her. I definitively remember.
Wait, what's the lot of Universal for people who don't know?
Universal Studios in Hollywood, California, and Los Angeles, California. It's not in Hollywood. It's actually in Studio City.
It's on the North way, Hollywood, isn't it? North Hollywood.
I don't know.
It's Studio City.
North Hollywood, maybe. Studio City.
It's close, huh?
Yeah, it's probably North Hollywood. It's like North Hollywood, Studio City border, actually.
But yeah, because they say they're in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
They call it Universal Studios North Hollywood. But this is not the Universal Studios that you would go for the theme parks. It's next to it. It's actually on the same property.
It's on the same property.
But this is where they actually shoot.
It's where they film
TV shows. Yeah, and movies.
So I'm like, go up and say something funny to her. So I don't remember what I said. I went up, I said something funny. She turned around and instantly said something funny back, which made me think, oh, wow, this is a cool chick. She's not only pretty, she's cool. And then she's like, hi, I'm Joy. What's your name? And so
that's my opening line that gets him every time.
Yeah. And then so
we genuinely were just being friendly.
We were just being friendly.
He was flirting, but I was just being myself.
Well, after you're being funny, I stopped being flirty. I was like, oh, she's a cool chick, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I always associate funny women with intelligence.
So then, since I was intelligent, you have to stop flirting with me?
No. Then what? Well, like, we spent all this time, like, for like a week, we were on this set together, and we just became friends. She was funny, and like, there was like these PAs. They're called, what is it? Personal assistants?
Production assistants.
And like these people around there. And Joy was like,
I'm a
so both me and Joy have a past, all right? We weren't always these refined, dignified people of quality that you see before you today. At one point, we were a couple of dirtbags. And you know what? Cheers to that, because I had a lot of fun. But she's like, oh, man. Look, I got some bootlickers on this set. I was like, bootlickers? She's like, yeah, you know what a bootlicker is. They lick your boots. And
so I gotta explain this because this is funny too. And we're gonna tell the story together, my love. He's doing a great job. Yeah, so I I used to go to goth clubs and S&M type clubs, and the guys would always love it when I'd put on black boots and be like the dominatrix, right? It was so all playful and fun. Yeah, I'm so tall, and guys have a thing for that. And so I would play that up, and I would play it up, and it's funny to me. So I actually, would go to costume events and balls and Club Hell, which was crazy. It's literally called Club Hell in Hollywood. This was 20 years ago. And, it was underground wild. I took Jeremy there with his girlfriends at the time. He always had a random girl on his arm.
Had a couple of rando.
But we were friends, like, from the beginning. So he was flirty, but then we actually became friends. And, I was flirty too, but it was just all fun.
Yeah,
so I told him I like
we were flirty but friendly.
Yeah,
I just was like I was flirty with I had a lot of pretty female friends, and so I was always flirty. The only one that I wasn't really ever flirty with was Marty. Marty just was always like my sister from the jump.
Sister
But
from another mister.
we were always flirty and funny, and
Yeah, and it was just it was a great vibe because we could say, I felt like I could say anything to him, and he could, right? You felt like you could say anything to me, and we still are like that. The dynamics change when you get married.
So-
but wait, I want to explain. So the bootlicker thing. So I would make him crack up lying because I go, watch this. I'd be, excuse me, to the production assistant. Can I get a cup of coffee? And it would be right next to me.
Nope, I'll be right back.
That was horrible,
He was
guys.
like a little chubby, bald imp.
Yeah, and then he'd be
you
like,
know?
yeah, and he would
Oh,
always
yeah.
bring
I'll
me
be
coffee.
right back.
And one time I was like, watch this. And the
my
coffee
little
was
bootlicker.
across the table from me. You remember I was
Yeah.
seated and the coffee was literally like 3 feet away from me, the coffee machine, because they'd feed you all day on set,
Yeah.
right? And so I said, excuse me, can you give me a cup of coffee? And it's 3 feet away from me. And I was like, watch Jeremy. And then he goes, oh yeah, sure. And he literally gets the coffee and brings it to me.
And then she's like, yeah, see, I got
Poor
my
guy.
bootlickers.
I call them
And then I
bootlickers.
started laughing, and
It's
she's
horrible.
like, someday you're gonna be my bootlicker too. And I was like, that's where you're wrong. You're gonna be licking my boots.
I don't know if you said that.
Hell yeah, I did. I've been a pimp since day one. You better act somebody. Hell yeah.
But I loved putting it on even more because, of course, I'm a ham. I'm a performer. He's a ham. He's a performer. And we would perform for each other. He'd be silly.
Oh,
I'd be
yeah.
silly.
We were
Oh,
always performing for each other. One time she was like, get on your knees, white boy. Your people owe me for 200 years of reparations. Bow down to Mama Africa.
so he started calling me
would
Mama Africa.
And what's crazy is I would call her mom every time I would see her, like Mama Africa, right?
I'm in his phone. I think still is Mama Africa.
I think it is.
To
Yep.
wife?
No,
Change it to wife.
no, Mama Africa.
But what? Yeah, Mama Africa's
So that she calls me
I
don't know, 6-7 years ago. She's
Oh,
in
wait,
Africa.
Wait.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I was like, and we were joking about it back then. I was like, damn, all those years I called you Mama Africa. Then I started calling her Mama America because she was wearing the Trump dress. And then I called her Mama America. I started calling her Mama Africa. I see her in the Trump dress. I start calling her Mama America.
Yeah.
She calls me from Africa, and I'm like, oh, shit, you really are Mama Africa. She's like, you should come out to Africa. You'd love it.
And he told me he was going to come
The
out.
ladies would love you.
Yeah.
I love you. And I was this close to going, and we talked for months about it. We would get in long
Because
conversations.
he's a tattoo artist. So remember, now we became friends. We went to parties, events, all kinds of stuff. I went to his house. We ended up having a fling because we were both single at the same time. I called him and I said, you want to pick me up? Come on, like bring me over. So he would pick me up. He's still.
I just never thought she was into me because she was just this tall, curvy,
gorgeous,
chocolatey goddess, and I would always think like, how filthy can I get on this podcast?
Don't get too filthy. It's family.
Okay, well,
don't get filthy at all.
Well, we should eventually we should move the Poopsie and Doopsie to our own podcast.
Sure, yeah.
Talk frankly.
My baby gonna have to set it up because I'd be setting it all up.
Hell yeah. But I just always thought, oh, she probably like thinks, I'm just some short little white guy that doesn't know how to handle myself or something.
Because he was goofy. He's always goofy.
But
and actually, to be honest, I never took him seriously as a romantic partner. I always thought he was just flirting and he'd just say anything. And he always showed me pictures of all these girls he had. So I was like, that's not my type. I want someone who's just focused on me. But he's my friend and I love him and I admire him and I laugh and he'd always be doing something fun. And he tattooed me for years. So we're already friends for a couple of years by this point.
Man,
like 2
Doopsie
years.
out here getting all the hoes.
He was charming. He always had girls around him, and he was a tattoo artist. He's a rock star, and I'm a rock star too. But I have a sensitive heart, and at that point, I was doing modeling a lot, and then we ended up dancing together. After
she asked me to film some dancing video for her, and then she was like over at my house for like 2 days, and we were like dancing, filming this thing for like 2 days.
Exactly.
And then she like called me like a night later. I don't know. It was like the second night we were dancing and we were sitting down. She was like wanted to see the footage. And I was sitting next to her And she's like, come over here. And she like pulled me between her legs and was like hugging me from behind. And we were watching the footage
Because I was
together.
a flirt too. We were
Yeah,
cozy. We were both single at the time. And he was just
she had
so
never
easy.
gotten like physical like that. I mean, she'd hug
Yeah.
me or whatever. But then she was like all over me. And then the next night I get a call from her and she's like whispering. She's like, Jeremy. And I was like, what's going on? And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just hanging out at home playing Red Dead Redemption, drinking a IPA because I used to drink back then. And I was like, she's like, really? I was like, why are you talking to me like this right now? She's like, I'm in my closet. And I was like,
because I had my roommate. I had to hide in my closet to talk to him because I had a roommate.
I was like, okay.
He lived in Burbank. I lived in North Hollywood. So we were right on the same area. And I grew up in Burbank. He grew up in Burbank.
She's like, you want to come pick me up? And I was like, yeah, sure. For what? And she's like, you know, for what? And I was like, oh, is it that kind of party? And she's like, yeah. Like,
that was just super sexy voice. And then so he picked me up. We came over. You know, things got personal, and we ended up dating for a couple weeks, right? He took me to the vegan restaurant.
We was at it all night long, and on and on and on and on.
And then it's funny because after that, I got into Scientology. And remember that? And then I tried to get you into Scientology.
And I was like, that. I told her.
That was
16 years ago. I said, that's a satanic cult. L. Ron Hubbard is a Satanist. He was doing black magic in the Hollywood Hills with Jack Parsons. He's a Crowley follower. No, he's not. I was like, his own son said he was the Satanist. That man is a Satanist, and I know about satanic cults. And I told her, and she wouldn't hear it. And I was just like, I could see I was talking to a wall, and I was like, all right, you do whatever the hell you want.
But that's not what broke us up.
16 years ago. No, that's not what broke us up.
Because
I didn't care.
My dad died. He did the tattoo for my dad. He didn't care. He still loved me. And we always said, we love you. I called him my boo. He did this tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
I came back from New York. I ended up moving to New York. He moved to Hawaii after. Like, so we just kind of, it fizzled out because also he was a player. He didn't cheat or anything. But he was I just felt like he was a party boy and I was getting out of my party girl lifestyle. I was like,
from New York to Newport.
I was trying to find, so it just didn't, our values didn't align, but it wasn't a breakup really. It was just kind of like, we just kind of stopped dating, but we kept calling each other, turned back into friends. It's interesting. I've never had a relationship like that.
Okay. So here's the thing. So I was incarcerated for many years.
What?
When I got out, I was like, I wanted a girlfriend, but I kept winding up with these chicks. I mean, and we all have our own traumas or whatever, but like I kept winding up with these chicks that would like cheat and shit, or not even necessarily cheat, but just be like, and then like looking at, I was in my early 20s, like they're younger, now they probably wouldn't do shit like that. But like, so I wanted a relationship, but in between relationships, I would just be brokenhearted. So I would just be like, well, I'm just going to bang chicks now. And then I would be single and like girls would be wanting to be my girlfriend. And I'd just be like, no, I just got out of a relationship. I ain't trying to be your boyfriend. I'm trying to like have a good time and just, but in general, I always wanted a relationship. I just, I would get hurt and then I would just go out and.
Well, you hurt people. You'd be a dirtbag hurting other people.
I would get hurt and then go back to the dirt. Holla.
Exactly. That's
Player for life.
I'm just going to say real quick, you guys can check out my book. I'm putting the link in there. Moderators, please remember to post my link from Scientology to Christ and the escape they never wanted me to make. You guys can pre-order my ebook and the print copy is coming out as well. So please support. I just put it in the chat. And the chat's blown up too. We have the chat over here. Look at that. This is a new thing where the chat can be. There it is. Boop, 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 boop. That's the chat. But we're also going to take questions and everything. We're going to jump off here soon. We're just going for an hour today. I have a lot of interviews. I'm going to be on Natalie Webster's show And she's Life After Cult. She's awesome. I can't wait to be on her show today. And I'm going to talk about Scientology and my whole journey and go to details. So make sure some of you guys came from that. So thank you for supporting the channel. I got 400 new subscribers after I came out of Scientology.
You're going to get even more.
Awesome. Yes, over 400, 450, almost 500. So thank you to everybody. We love you so much. And
so
he's been here. So Natalie's awesome. Hey, Christy. Thanks, Fat Granny, for pre-ordering. But I want to say, too, is Jeremy was right about Scientology. And that was when my parents had died. I was just getting into it. And he still loved me. But then you ended up moving to Hawaii. I ended up moving. And it's just, we stayed in touch. We loved each other. I called him Boo. I came back. I got married to someone else. And
we still stayed in touch.
Yeah.
I bought her shirts. She was
when I was selling my merchandise.
Hey, I got some merch. And I bought a couple of shirts.
He became conservative as well. I didn't
know.
Okay.
He was let me just clarify.
He loved the liberals. He was like,
yeah, right.
He was campaigning for Hillary
I
Clinton.
she was a liberal.
Freaking.
I'll tell you what. I didn't even register to vote till 8 months ago. Okay. Cause I'm a conspiracy theorist above all things. I think at the top, both the right and the left are working together against our country. They want to destroy America. And I believe that. I don't care what politician you love. They're in on the take. Doesn't matter. There might be less evil than other politicians. They're in on the take, right and left. The left is running towards communism. The right is walking towards it. They're both headed in the same direction, though. But I just saw in 2016 when
the right is going towards communism.
Yeah, it is. That's why it's full of rhinos. So, and that's why there's, and no disrespect, but it's full of Catholics. And I'm sorry, the Catholics. Look at the Catholic Church in the last few years. Anyways, so
it's all fine.
In 2016, I wasn't even paying because I was just a conspiracy theorist, right?
Here we go.
I'm posting videos of Joe Biden sniffing kids and because I've been saying the government and the politicians are a bunch of satanic pedophiles for years. And then all of a sudden Trump and Hillary are arguing, and my friend, and he's a minority, he's like, you should watch the debates. And this is how much I didn't pay attention. I was like, oh, I hate Hillary Clinton. She's a satanic witch. And isn't Trump a racist? And my friend's like, hell no, he ain't a racist. And my friend's not stupid. He's like, hell no, he's not a racist.
Thank God for your friend.
And then so I start watching the debates. And I'm watching the debates. I'm like, damn, if Trump's going to do what he says he's going to do, which some of it he did, a lot of it he didn't. He did better than any other president, as far as I'm concerned. And I like him more because at least he's funny. But then I started seeing this wave of LGTB crap happening. And I was like, wait a second. When I was young, there was gay people. Like, where did this gigantic army of trans lesbo homosexuals come from? Like, this, what is going on? And then I thought about it. The food they're feeding people, the jabs they're giving people. This is before the COVID jab. This is 10 years ago. I'm like, these jabs, what they call you got to get immunized once a year or whatever. All that stuff, the stuff they put in our water, I was like, oh my God, they're creating an army of hormonally imbalanced people that think that they're, gay or trans or whatever through food and immunizations. And I was saying that 10 years ago. And then I just was like, this is not headed in a good direction. It's going to go straight into pedophilia, which it has in the last few years. So that's what made me start. Because above all, like this, it's like when I argue with liberals, they're like, oh yeah, but it's a woman's right to choose and this and that. So I'm just like, okay, well, look, I love women, but first and foremost, children, yeah, straight out. Children are innocent. So if you're asking me to support you for your right to murder babies, which I don't care if you do that. If you want to do it, that's your choice. I don't like it, but that's your choice. I'm not the hard right guy on that, right? But I am hard on when you start teaching children about sexuality, that's number one. So a woman's right to choose gets put on the back burner. I'm sorry, you're not an innocent woman. In fact, the act that you chose to do without protection, that was on you. These kids are getting indoctrinated to sex cults and some pedophile stuff. So that's way more important than your right to choose. Okay. I'm choosing children over your BS. You could have chose to use contraception or get the morning after pill. You chose not to. Again, I'm not anti abortion. I'm not. And I know a lot of people will crucify me for that. I'm not. I'm pro protect the children. And once I saw that, then I was like, I wouldn't.
Pro-life.
I was like, I'm just being honest. Once I saw that, I was just like, oh, hell no. And then now you got the open borders where they're trafficking children. Abortion does play into it because it's like still harming children. You got taking kids to drag and pride shows. You got transitioning small children. It's like the left is just a danger to small children. And that's what kind of pushed me towards the right. But no, first and foremost, I'm a constitutionalist. But I will say, when I saw her wearing the Trump dress years ago, I was like, damn, that's a brave woman right there. She showed up in the enemy's neighborhood in her colors. And I even reached out to her and told her, I was like, damn, I seen you in the Trump dress. That's hard. Way to go. Hell yeah. Because I always thought Trump was funny.
Supportive. So I married somebody else, right? And then we stayed friends, Jeremy and I. And then I got divorced in 2019. And, and he was a hardcore Scientologist. You guys know that story, and I'll tell more about it in my book. And on my, if you haven't, I put the link to my book. I put the link to fitness. You can work with me, apply to work with me for Joy Vila Fitness. And I put the link to my testimony where I talk about Scientology, the whole thing. Please watch that. It's 3 hours, but the first hour is me talking about it. The next hour and a half is just talking to you guys and answering questions. And that was quite emotional for me. That was last week, almost 10 days ago, right? So it's been a big thing. Thank you, Christy. She's putting the link on the full testimony. Yeah, and you could just, moderators, copy the links from down below and just post it in the chat, please. Thank you. But I'll tell you, so I married someone else. I divorced them, and Jeremy, it was a traumatic. Divorce is always traumatic, but I felt like I was very much locked in the cage, right? I was a pretty little thing, sit down, shut up, look good.
That was in 2019.
2019.
When we did that.
Yeah.
Right around Hollywood, Halloween, 2019 in Los Angeles.
Because, October. So we got, because September is when I filed for divorce, and I moved out September 4th. And so the divorce proceedings were underway, and they were finalized before COVID, thank God, because I heard that was a mess to try to get divorced during COVID. I never wanted to be divorced, but I was unequally yoked, and it was very painful for me. It was a hard marriage, and we were together for 7 years. And so Jeremy I wanted a cage, a beautiful cage that was open. And the day that I was going to get this tattoo, I picked up donuts because Jeremy didn't eat them, which is actually admirable. But for the other tattoo artist in the shop, he was visiting because he had moved to Washington, opened his own shop. I was
really strict with my diet back then.
It was good. And so then I saw this macaw on the shoulder in the donut shop in Hollywood. I moved to my own place in Hollywood, on the shoulder of a guy. So I said, what bird am I going to get flying out? So it was a macaw. And that's me. That's her. It's me. She's flying free from a beautiful cage, and the peony, is that peony?
That's a peony.
It's friendship, right? Peony means friendship.
I think so.
Love. Because I said, what is it? I said, what's a good flower? And he's like, he was always so smart. He knows a lot of things. So he said, peony. Peony means, I think, friendship, freedom, love, something like that. So I thought, that's beautiful. And I love flowers. Love flowers. And so that's when he tattooed that on me. And look how beautiful it is. And it was my first tattoo on like in the front, where you can see that I'm front tattooed. Now you can see I'm much more tattooed, but I didn't have anything on the opening. It was all inside. I didn't have this storm. I didn't have my Jesus yet. So that was a big, the only outside tattoo I had was this one that he had done.
Black Jesus.
That's right. This is Daddy's girl. Yeah. Oh. I love you. So, so we, and so that was a big moment. And I shared it with him. My dad's death was a big moment. He tattooed me. And then he tattooed me. He just always was my tattoo artist. And I said, I love this man. He's my boo. I posted that on Instagram. And it's funny because I didn't see him like my husband, my future husband, or, oh, now I can date him.
I never even thought I was going to get married.
He wasn't even.
I wasn't opposed to it, but I never thought I was going to get married.
Yeah. And he used to joke. He's like, you ain't dating. How come you ain't giving the short guys a chance? He used to joke with me. And I was like, is he trying to get with me? I said, nah, because he has a girlfriend now. And so it's like, there was that, like, I was like, no, he's just being silly. I never took it seriously, just like normally. And he was being silly and we were just being loving. But then COVID happened. We lost track of each other. I moved to the UK. I moved to South Africa in 2021, which was amazing. I did do a lot of Scientology, but I also did a lot of other things. And met my best friend. And then I moved to the UK specifically for Scientology. And that was in 2022. That was the hardest 2 years, 2022 and 2023. That was so hard. End of 2021. So I was there for almost 2 years. And that was when Scientology, it broke me. That was 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I cried out to God, and I was in the bubble, they called it. So I lived on a Scientology place and went to the center, barely could go to London, wasn't really allowed to. We were on lockdowns. It was really, really hard. And that was when I finally felt the Lord tell me, because I called out to him and the Lord told me to go to Florida. I disobeyed. I went to Los Angeles for a month. And then I went to Chicago, did more Scientology there because they were like, oh, you can join staff and we'll pay for everything. We'll get you. And they promised me. So I ended up singing for them, recruiting, and it got really bad. And I was on staff for a little bit and I was doing my internship to become a Scientology minister. And I was a class 5, clear, super high status, millions into Scientology, and I was miserable. And they were treating me like dirt because I refused to give up Christianity. It was like I wasn't still like under the thumb. I wasn't really punished enough. And meanwhile, it was a conflict because there's so many kind people in Scientology like you trying to make it. So I finally came.
You know what's crazy is like this is a good metaphor for institutions. Like when I tell people NASA is full of shit or the medical industry is full of shit, people are like, well, my uncle worked for NASA. You telling me he's in on the take? No, I'm not saying that everybody that works for NASA knows what's going on. Their bosses do, just like during COVID. I'm not saying all the doctors were in on it or knew about the takeover, but all the people that own the hospitals they all knew. They're all top level people. So
yeah. They have to file that paperwork.
From the top down, it trickles down. And that's what, like, she's like, oh, the people were good, this and that. Yeah. When you judge society on community, you're always gonna see the innocence and like the good. But if you think about like, well, what's running the community? Because the community is sweet and ignorant, and they're going off their life experience with the other people that are in the same place as they are. They're not thinking about the scumbags at the top that are calling the shots, that want to take things over, whether it's companies, countries, or the world, which is what's happening. And it's been like that since day one. Hello, Tower of Babel. People don't think about things like
Praise
that.
God.
And
yeah.
That was just so ramble because it's like
right.
I'm breaking down a pattern. It's like for people wonder why I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, because at the top, it's all corrupt. It doesn't matter if your uncle's a good guy and he works for NASA, or your aunt's a great Scientologist and she's sweet. Yeah, let her find out her daughter is no longer part of Scientology. She's going to turn her back on her for the scumbags at the top that want the money.
Yeah.
And it's like that in every institution in America. Churches do it. Religion doesn't want to hear that. Everybody does it. And unfortunately, until human beings wake up and they're like, there's a few different classes, and the higher echelons always use psychological warfare on the lower echelons in every institution, not just the military. It's everything. We're just going to keep getting the wool pulled over our eyes.
That's true. So that's very true. It's the nuance of it. And, Jesus saved me from Scientology. I cried out to him. I had to cry out to him, though. I had to say enough is enough. And when I finally came to Clearwater, I was still doing some Scientology stuff because I thought it's what I know. 15 years in, it's what I know. It's what I was raised in from 24 years old, 23 years old. You know, my parents died. This is what I know. This is what works. But it also wasn't working, but I was trying to make it work, right? I was like, oh. So then I was like, okay, but I started praying. I wasn't being in a Scientology organization or church, as they call them. I was praying a lot more, and I was doing other stuff too. I was like meditating and trying to find my way. And I was like, okay, like watching astrology videos, trying to get some answers and like tarot card stuff. Like I was confused and in chaos, but I was trying to find, I was still praying. And in my prayers, I see God was molding me. He was bringing me back. And in my prayers, I said, I really want to have a husband. I really want to be a wife and a mother. Lord, bring me my husband. And then I started texting people. Yes. I was like, oh, let me see. I'm back in the US. It's been almost, over 2 years. I've been in the US, 2.5 years. Let me see my friends. And I changed my number. So I text I was praying and the name Jeremy popped in my head. I said, let me call Jeremy. So I text him. He texted me back right away. You said, are you in Florida?
No. I'm just hanging out. All of a sudden, I get a text. Hey, Jeremy, it's Joy Villa. What are you up to? And I was like, oh, wow. I tried to text you 6 months ago. And she was like, no, you didn't. And I was like, I found the text. And I was like, yeah, I did. And I took a screenshot. And she's like, oh, I changed my number. And then I thought, how weird would it be if she was in Florida right now? Mm-hmm. That would be just because both of us were traveling all over. Mm-hmm. And I was never heard of her being in Florida. This was my first time being in Florida. That would just be so weird. But then I also thought, stranger things have happened. She could very well be in Florida.
And I was.
Hey, where are you, Joy? She's like, oh, I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida. And so then I called her and I was like, hey, I'm 2 hours away from you. She's like, no, you're not. And I was like, I swear to God, I am. I'm in Marion County, Florida right now.
And when I say no, you're not, I was like, no, no way. I was blown away. I was in Clearwater, actually, which is next to St. Petersburg. And because I was going to try to get back and flag and do more Scientology services. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I was trying to join the C word.
All you got to do is just be like, why does Scientology have all this real estate and why is it all empty? It's as empty as their promises.
Woo!
Straight out.
Preach it.
A bunch of empty real estate.
Preach it.
Why? Because not only is the church, and they can come after me. That's cool. I'm packing heat. It's Florida. So,
okay, calm down. Let's finish this up now. I love my baby. But so then we're going to jump off soon. So we then got together. He came out. And I was like, is he going to come out? Because he didn't come out to South Africa. Is it real? And he blew me away. He actually showed up. His car broke down. He ended up renting another car. It ended up being a van. It's the only thing he could rent. So he picked me up in a van, took me to a beautiful museum.
I showed up. Poopsie was looking thick as hell.
Yes. And he brought me a painting. It was the painting's in my bathroom, right? My pink painting. And it was so beautiful. And we have a video. We should have had the video for that to show it. And we were so happy to be reunited. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the date was magical. Jesus literally brought us together. It was a miracle. Because he started rubbing my hair. Jeremy rubbed my hair. Oh, we kissed on the way to lunch. Because I looked at him and I was so attracted to him. Something had changed. I was like, oh, shoot. Oh, when I called him, I said, by the way, when you come in, we forgot to tell that detail. I was like, by the way, this is not just a friendly visit. I was ready to, and I made the move again. I said it in the same voice that I'd done 16 years before.
I was like, oh yeah, it's that kind of party, huh?
I said, yeah. I said, just so you know, you can stay over. And
which is good because I didn't feel like driving 2.5 hours back.
He could have stayed over even if we were just friends. Like I would be cool. But I was dating a lot of different people. Oh, randomly being on, dating apps and going on dates. I wasn't, and it just felt so empty, but I was determined to find my husband. And I was like, you know what? I already been there, done that with Jeremy. What's a night of comfort?
It's like, damn, girl, we gonna get down to business, ain't we?
He's a good guy. No, you didn't say that. That's not until I opened it. And then, because he was a gentleman, baby, hold on, you're shaking the whole camera.
Oh, baby.
He's so ADHD, my baby ADHD. So he was being a sweetheart, and then he's still a sweetheart. And then I opened the door, and the date was amazing. It was so awesome. We went to the Dali Museum. He took me out to Thai food. And then we did my podcast, which was just on Wednesday nights at that time. You know, remember you
She
guys?
tried to slip something in my drink.
I did. No, I didn't. No, I didn't have to. And we had the best time. And then we fell in love. Jeremy told me, I love you. And I ended up moving from, in those 3 days, I ended up going with him. I ended up leaving because I was in a tough situation
So
with this Scientology lady
like,
that was trying to charge me so
I stayed
much
one
money.
night. I stayed one night.
Yeah.
We wound up hooking up, and then we wound up, and I like my space when I sleep. We fell asleep hugging each other and slept like that all night.
I know.
I woke up and I was like, damn,
He's
I don't
a
want to
teddy
leave,
bear.
but I gotta go. I got clients, I got a tattoo that afternoon or
And
whatever.
I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. And I was praying. I was up. I was like, I wonder if he would be okay with giving me a ride to Jacksonville or giving me a ride to Ocala.
Which
and
was
then
on
my
the way to
uncle
Jacksonville.
will pick me up because that's where they live. And I was like, I guess I'm going to move back in with my family because I feel lost. I'm in debt from Scientology. I didn't realize Scientology was the devil it is. I just thought my life's a mess. I need to take a break from all this crap. Right? I was just still under the indoctrination, but I knew something was wrong and I knew God was pulling me away.
So she was like, can I get a ride with you to Ocala, and then my aunt and uncle will come and get me? And I said, yeah. And then like after like 2 minutes, I was like, hey, do you want to just spend a few days with me in Ocala?
I was like, what? Are you sure?
And she's
Because I
like,
was shy to ask.
and I was just afraid to ask her that too.
Aw.
And she was like, oh my God, can I? And I was like, yeah, will you? And she's like, yeah. And then so we spent 3 more nights together.
It was amazing.
And fell asleep in each other's arms for 3 more nights.
Me, he said.
And then like on the last night she was there, I was like, I was like, I love you. I've always loved you. And I was just like, even if I don't see you again, like this was the best visit I've had with a woman in years. And it's really it was very healing, and it was like really awesome because like I was super lonely out here in this corner of the country. I was by myself. I always would do that. I would move to places where there was nobody and just brave it out and like the hero's journey. You know the hero's journey?
Yeah.
And then
my baby was so isolated.
And then she was like, I love you too. This and that. And then we stayed in touch. And
it was transformative. I have been praying for my husband. I said, God, I want him to be a reformed bad boy, tattooed, because I love a tattooed look. That's sexy to me. Into health and fitness on his own, because I don't want to train him and then like have to get it. You know, that's I just want him to also have his own health and fitness. Supports what I do, loves God. And I said, he's got to pray with me. And Jeremy ended up praying with me. Like all my specifications, Jeremy fit except for the height, but it doesn't matter. That's like, you can't say like, I want
that length is there though.
Oh, the girth too. Hey, he got it where it counts. But my intelligent, funny, like I put together my top 10 non-negotiables, which I recommend all women and men do this. Put down like 25 things you want, but then make it only 10 non-negotiables. And height and look should be negotiable, because as long as you're attracted to them and they're attracted to you, who cares if they have blonde hair or brown skin or you know, red skin? Like it, to me, that's me, because it's the person you fall in love with, and they should be sexy to you, but attraction can come in all different flavors, right?
My baby a Nephilim.
I don't know.
I'm like King David.
Yes.
She Goliath.
So
I'm gonna take down that booty with a rock.
So we got together. Look, we have almost 300 people watching now, and it was transformative. Like I cried. He breathed into my heart. He would rub my head. He would kiss me, tell me I love you deep in my eyes. We cried together. I've never felt a love like this.
I ain't never shed a tear.
He's a softie. Don't let him fool you on the inside.
I'm whore.
He's a whore. And my baby gangster, he's been through a lot, but he loves Jesus and he loves me so much. And I never felt as secure, not in my marriage, not in my relationships, not in my career, not in anything besides God. I never felt so taken care of and supported except for Jeremy. And he was with me through the whole journey coming out of Scientology. Even when I was in Scientology, he supported me and he loved me.
And so
we got married last year.
So listen to this.
In October.
We wound up staying in communication and visiting one another. I would go to Jacksonville. She would come to Ocala.
Yeah, I ended up moving to Jacksonville.
We'd take buses or Ubers or Lyfts or whatever, hitches or whatever, and visit each other.
Yeah,
like I would drive out or whatever.
Pick me up
and
because it's 2 hours away.
And
I didn't drive.
Then we moved in together, and we moved into a studio apartment, smaller than the room we're in right now. And
we started from the bottom.
We lived in that apartment for like 4 months together.
Because he already had a lease, and we didn't want to break the lease. And
then a new apartment with the same company opened up, and it was a 1-bedroom. And then we moved up to this 1-bedroom.
Things were not glamorous in the beginning, guys. It was a lot of
healing. It was
we had trauma. We had trauma from being hurt from other men and women, and we took it out on each other. We had arguments. It was always dramatic. But then we would argue and yell at each other.
It was like,
and then we would laugh after. We just go, why are we so dramatic and ridiculous? We're so passionate, right?
So we're in this little studio apartment. It's literally a studio apartment we're living in together. And I remember, like, most of the time we were laughing and loving.
Oh yeah.
But when we would fight back then, we would fight. And
we started getting counseling.
And then we would do counseling, and then Joy would flip out in the counsel. Joy would try and win counseling. She would try and win counseling, like win over, like
the good one.
Yeah, exactly. And it backfired on her. And then she realized it was backfiring, so she just went straight into rage mode. She's like, I ain't winning, so I'm gonna make a scene. And then she came back, and she came back into the session because we were doing it by video, and she said, yes, okay, so anyways, yes, I'm sorry for the last. And then she realized she was losing again a few minutes after that. Flips out all over again, throws the iPad, takes off, walking, storming around outside, and we finally got her back in again, and she calmed down. And then
he would flip out when I would get on trips, and he'd be like, oh, where are you going? You're gonna leave me. I mean, it was like a lot of traumas that we both had. It was funny, but it was also dramatic.
Yes, we would laugh about it afterwards.
Yeah, there was times I thought, I don't know. And I want people to hear this, because they think, oh, when they meet the one, it's all sunshine and rainbows like a Disney movie. No, there was times I doubted if this was the right relationship for me, because I was so hurt. I was going through healing. I thought, I feel so hurt. I took it so personally. And then we met Pastor Natalia, and she actually started as my client. I started my fitness company. I started making money, started doing well, started paying off my debt, started getting more free. And now I didn't realize what the healing was going on leaving Scientology. Like, baby, you didn't know that either. How damaging I had been, how damaged I had been through that. You didn't know I was unworking myself from a cult, because you knew it was satanic, but you didn't know the length and the breadth of it. And nobody really knows unless they've been in Scientology.
No, I didn't know her experiences.
But you could see.
But I've been studying satanic cults and cults for the last 21 years. So ritual abuse, read books on it. I've known. That's why I told her 16 years ago, you're part of a cult, and it's a satanic cult.
But you can't tell somebody. I mean, you can tell somebody that, but
they don't get it.
But of course they don't.
They take it personally.
Of course we do. Of course I would.
I'm not that stupid enough to get tricked. I couldn't get tricked.
Okay, baby, we got to end off. Okay?
Yeah, I know. I got to go.
Calm down. Look, see the counter there? I love my baby, but he needs to calm.
I got to go.
I love him. I know. But see, Amber says, us ex-Scientologists go through a lot of difficulties trying to get out. Exactly. So he supported me, but he didn't know. I didn't even know. So, and then he'd been through jail, and you hadn't really gotten as much healing. So we started going through healing together. And that's what I've done a lot of
healing over the years.
You had, but not the spiritual healing through the Holy Ghost, through Jesus. You've gone through your own thing, right? You, baby, when you were in Vipassana, and if I were to tell you that's a
healing
cult,
in
you would have
that?
said, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's great.
No, I would have.
See?
I always took everything that I did with a grain of salt,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because I always saw how fanatical people became with religions, with cults, with science.
But you know, that's the thing, though. You don't realize what you're going through is damaging you when you're in it. And there is some healing that you go through even through these things, because that's all satanic too. All of that is not of Jesus, is not of God. But we work through these things to try to heal, and they're a part of our history, right? There was also good things I learned in Scientology that helped me come from my past. But then at a certain point, you realize it's a trap. And guess what? A trap always has a piece of cheese. People don't realize something has to lure you into that trap. It's not like people just walk into a trap. There's a piece of cheese, or it's hidden behind flowers, right? So that's the thing. And then when you heal from that, my point is, I'm saying, is we were healing together, and we helped heal each other, and God put us together and healed us, and we're still healing. We're all healing, but our love is unlike any other love I've ever been.
Me too.
Of. This man is my love. He's my dream. He
my
checks
ride or
all
die.
the boxes. He's my ride or die. We agreed we're not getting divorced. We're working through whatever happens. We're communicating, and couples are supposed to have difficulties because you're human beings. But we're very transparent with each other, and I've never been able to have such a best friend. He's my best friend. He's my best friend, and he's my husband, and he's a good man. I'm so proud of him.
But yeah, so we moved from that tiny studio apartment to a grungy 1-bedroom, but it was better than the studio. And then from that grungy 1-bedroom now
gorgeous
to incredible 2-bedroom that, like, we wake up every morning and it feels like we're on vacation in this beautiful place.
We have a nice
and that's
place.
what we talked about before.
We've been able to,
before we got married. I said, honey, we can go on a little honeymoon, or we can move into a place.
We got to end, baby. I love you so much.
Okay,
we're done with our time. We got to go because I've got an appointment right after.
Bye, y'all.
We're gonna be back on. Wait, no,
I gotta go.
We're back. Yeah,
I literally gotta go.
I told you we gotta go, baby. All right. I love you guys. We're going to be back on Wednesday together, and I'll be back tomorrow, and watch my stream on with Natalie's show. Follow Life After Cults. I love you guys. God bless you. And I'll talk.
Singer and songwriter and former Trump campaign advisory board member Joy Vila is here.
Well, last night I wore my dress that says, actually didn't say anything. It showed a picture of a fetus, and this painting I painted on my dress. It's one that I had painted 10 years ago, and I recreated on my dress. And my purse, this is the purse that says Choose Life. So I chose to represent a Choose Life, pro-life message on the Grammys red carpet.
Celebrities are back in it to win it. What goes through your mind, Dom?
Well, first of all, they've been campaigning for this, I think, for the last 2 years. You know, Lady Gaga is no stranger to being very politically active, and I think that her management has gone behind the scenes, a lot of sources tell me, to make sure that when Biden gets elected, that she would be front and center.
Talk to me about this look tonight. Yes, so this look is all about American exceptionalism, freedom. So the hat stays on. They try to kill Trump. He's still alive, thank God. All right. The dress is by Andre Soriano, a gay Filipino immigrant. It represents cryptocurrency, which is definitely the new wave of freedom. And I'm here to make America glamorous again. I think the ones that should be deported are being deported. To be honest, I'm a Latina. My family came from this country to this country legally. And I love to see rapists, human traffickers deported. And so those are the people getting deported, and those are the people that should get deported.
The dog chain? Tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, so this is a cryptocurrency, and it's really like a meme coin. So it's really about memes. It's really about freedom. It's really about, like, yeah, this is just a dog with a hat.
Is performing artist Joy Vila.
I think we should not get rid of these statues. First of all, just because we have a statue doesn't mean we're celebrating what happened. It commemorates a moment in history, just like we have a 9/11 memorial. That doesn't commemorate